Kicking off the main card for the UFC Fight Night this weekend, we have Misha Cirkunov versus Alonzo Menifield. Misha Cirkunov with a record of 15 wins and 8 losses. His last fight against Wellington Turman definitely did not go his way, as he was submitted via armbar in the second round. Alonzo Atomic Menifield comes in with a record of 12-3. His last fight was against Askar who he absolutely destroyed in the first round via TKO. What are the odds for this one?
So Alonzo is favored here. He's minus 220. Misha Cirkunov is plus 180. I don't know how to pick Misha Cirkunov fights at this point in time. The old Misha Cirkunov from a few years back, I would have picked to beat Alonzo Menifield. I really think that he was better than Menifield, but he has not looked good recently. He dropped to middleweight after Ryan Spann beat him. Got beat by Krzysztof Jotko. Granted, it was a close fight. Then he gets tapped out by Wellington Turman, which is not necessarily a great look. Now he comes back up to light heavyweight, hoping that's going to fix things. It's just not great vibes right now. And on top of that, I've heard some theories that he's fighting very compromised and that his left arm is somewhat ruined, which is the opposite of encouraging. So I don't want to pick him. On the other hand, Alonzo Menifield, while good, is not an unbeatable fighter by any means. He's got power and he can do a bit of everything. But other than catching Paul Craig early in his UFC career, I've never been terribly impressed. Like, yeah, he has performances like his last one where he looks great, but he was fighting more or less a bum, for lack of a better word. I don't think he has those quality wins on his resume necessarily outside of the Paul Craig one, whereas Cirkunov does. He has shown that he can beat some of the higher-level guys. So that's why I'm torn, and I guess I'm going to cheat a little bit here. If I had to bet my money on this fight, I would bet Menifield just because I'm concerned of this rumor about Cirkunov's arm. If he comes out and we see a minute or two of this fight and it looks like his arm is fine, I'm actually going to say he leans on the grappling a bit and wins a really ugly fight on the cards. If a minute or two into this fight his left arm looks weird, I think we probably get the opposite result. I think ugly fight that Menifield wins on the card. So I guess my pick hangs on this arm, but I would say do not bet this fight.
I haven't particularly been on board with Menifield in the past. He is a very hot or cold fighter. However, the last fight that he had against Mosharov was, I think, in my opinion, the best fight that he's ever had, just from a performance standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is possible.
Craig, yeah.
Well, even the Paul Craig fight, it was a good finish. It was a good fight, but there was something different about this last fight. The way he approached it, the aggression, and the technique that went into it too, because he was measuring that kid the entire fight for as long as it lasted. So there were a lot of improvements, I thought, that were significant in Menifield's game in this last fight. And with as short as it was, it makes me wonder how many more improvements have been made. So I think we might be there. I haven't seen that from Cirkunov. I've seen a decline from Cirkunov. And I just think that Menifield probably has more to offer at this point. And I think, to your credit, worst case scenario, I'm fucking dead wrong, and he just relies on an ugly decision win. Either way, I think Menifield is probably going to walk away the victor here. However, I like I said, I think Menifield is doing something. I think he's figured something out. Something might have clicked. I'm going to go with Menifield. I'm going to go with a TKO win, round 3.
Mike feels even stronger about Menifield than you do. He is going with Menifield by a round 1 knockout.
Oh, wow. He says Cirkunov dies. Damn.
I wonder if Cirkunov loses this fight, if that would be walking papers for him, which would be a pretty quick fall from grace.
Yeah, I mean, I think the run that he was on that was super significant was like back in 2015, 2016, something in that area.
I think it was more recent than that, man.
Was it?
It was like 20. 18. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it's only been like a few years of badness. Yeah, in 2019 is when he subbed Jimmy Crute.
Oh, the Peruvian necktie. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I guess his previous stringing together of wins was back kind of when you said. But, like, he was still up there, ranked light heavyweight as recently as 2019.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Next on the list, we have Jordan Wright getting another shot here against Dusko Todorovic. Jordan Wright, I have picked in the past and have been almost wrong every time. He has a record of 12 wins and 3 losses. The Beverly Hills Ninja had a recent submission loss via guillotine choke in the first round against Marc-Andre Barriault. And Dusko Thunder Todorovic, with a record of 11-3, with a recent loss against Chidi and Chikawani, which, let's be real, is going to happen. Before that was a TKO win over Maki Pitolo. Interesting little fight we have here. What are the odds for this one?
So I thought the odds would be tight. Dusko is favored 2-1 here. He's minus 200. Jordan Wright is plus 165. Yeah. Neither of these guys have lit the world on fire in the UFC. They're both 2-3 in their UFC tenures. I would say both of them need this fight. I think there may be some job security at play here potentially. Another tough one to pick. Another fight that I feel like could go either way, as is becoming the theme as we work up this card. I have been more impressed in moments with Jordan Wright than I have been with Dusko in terms of their best moments that they have shown us. I've also probably been more disappointed in the decisions of Jordan Wright at times. So I really have no confidence in either guy to win this fight, but obviously someone has to. I guess I'm going to say that for once, as of late, Jordan Wright steps up. I think that he can do what I thought he may be able to do at other times, which is keep Dusko off of him, kind of resist that grappling, create space, maybe land a couple elbows with his back against the cage as he creates that space, keeping Dusko off of him, maybe some body shots. I'll say it's a close fight, and he kind of adds up the damage a bit and gets Dusko out of there in round 3 TKO.
The thing that drives me crazy about Jordan Wright is actually the way that he leans up against the cage. The kid is so tall, and he has dexterity in his legs. He has the ability to really keep people off of him and use his length to his advantage. And the kid fucking shells up like he's Stefan Struve. Like he just stays against the cage and just lets people tee off on him when he doesn't move. And I don't understand. I don't understand the thought process. I don't know if he's gassed. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's really killed the whole Jordan Wright train that I was trying to ride for a little bit. Even his win against Jamie Pickett, just, you know what I mean? It's like cool, but it doesn't overshadow the significant holes in his game that he has. It's not to say Dusko is... Oh, by the way, I think I've been saying Dusko when I first said it. I don't think I said Dusko, but...
Yeah, Dusko.
I don't think... Dusko doesn't have the best record in the world right now, but at the same time, I think I have a little bit more confidence in him at this point than I do in Jordan Wright. I'm going to go with Dusko by... second round TKO.
I also meant to add Jordan Wright has a 3-inch reach advantage, so that kind of played into my thinking maybe he could pull it off.
That boy won't use his fucking reach. It's exactly my point. Is he's gifted, but he just doesn't use it. He doesn't know. I think it's a waste, man. I hope I see something different, but his last few fights have just been underwhelming in that department.
I'm envisioning a push Dusko off, create space, and then he's able to land before Todorovic is able to land. That's what I'm envisioning.
We'll see
what happens when he dies in 1 minute.
Pushing forward, head down, while Jordan Wright realizes he's against the cage, and Jordan Wright shells up while Dusko tees off on him, goes in between the guard, and Wright's on the floor with his legs bent. It's going to be bad.
Well could be. Very well could be. Oh, wait, Mike.
Right.
Mike
yeah.
has Jordan Wright by UD.
You put weight first. All right. Next on the list, we have... we're getting into some meat and potatoes here.
Yeah, we have 3 good ones.
Askarov versus Brandon Royval, our boy. At least my boy. Boy's wild.
Mike's boy.
Askar Bullet Askarov is a 14-1 ranked record fighter. His last fight against Kaikar France was a loss, a unanimous decision loss, which I'm pretty sure he lost every round in that fight. That was a handed loss, I think, the first time that he's ever had in his career. I don't think anybody's really beat him like that before, or ever, for that matter.
He definitely won a round in that fight.
Did he?
Yeah. Because I remember being nervous at the decision. Now
Okay.
I gotta look. I'm pulling it up as we speak.
Brandon.
Yeah. 29-28 on every card.
Every card.
He won the first round of the fight.
All right. Brandon Raw Dog Royval with a record of 14 wins and 6 losses. Last fight was against Matt Schnell with a guillotine submission win in the first round. What are the odds for this banger?
So Askar is a -240 favorite. Brandon Royval is +190. This is a great matchup and a pretty difficult fight to pick because I'm kind of thinking 2 contradictory thoughts at the same time. The first one is that because Askarov is so strong and so good in the wrestling and in the clinch situations, that he's maybe the kind of fighter who can nullify a lot of Royval's craziness. But the second is that I wonder if Royval is so damn relentless and random and unorthodox that he's the right kind of guy to find a hole in like the more straightforward grappling game of Askarov. So it's like I could absolutely see both things happening. You know, it's like the by the book perfect grappler versus the throw the book out the window grappler. So it's intriguing. I do think I'm leaning Askarov for kind of the same reason that I took Pantoja to beat Royval, honestly. I mean, Pantoja is a higher level of grappler than Askarov, but even so, I just feel like there's a level of elite fighter, if you will, where Royval's wildness ends up looking a little more like sloppiness because the opponent knows how to handle it and counter it, and it ends up being not quite as effective as it is against some lesser fighters, which was the case against Pantoja. I could see Askarov making it look like that a little bit just because his base is so strong. He's so balanced. He fights smart. You know, he's a skilled grappler. Plus, he's the better striker as well, which I haven't even touched on. So, you know, when this thing isn't crazy and scrambly, I expect him to probably be picking up some points in the striking department. Obviously, Royval will try to make it as scrambly as he can make it. But I just think there's too many small checks toward Askarov for me to go Royval here, so I will say Askarov UD.
Yeah.
You can go the other way? I'm interested.
So, like, as far as my analysis of it, you know, I think Askarov does have just the slight edge. I think we get into a point where Royval will try to look for submissions because Askarov is going to give him the opportunities to, right? There's going to be a lot of takedowns. There's going to be a lot of takedown attempts. Probably a few single legs, necks all in the air, stuff like that. And I think Royval tries to capitalize on a lot of those moments. But I think in the end, I don't think he's going to be able to finish him. And I think what it ends up doing is it keeps Royval on the ground and it continues to give Askarov position and top control. And I think, you know, as much as I like the way Royval is relentless, you're not going to win a round trying to throw as many submissions up as you can if you can't lock any of them up and make any of them actually a problem. the only time we're really going to get to that point is if you have something really locked in, squeezed up, you know what I mean? And either time runs out or something along those lines. But, this is one of those situations where I think Askarov is going to be just a hair ahead of the exchanges on the ground with Royval. And I think that's where a lot of it will probably take place because Royval, I don't think, is going to try to stop him from taking him down, at least not early. Maybe his corner eventually will be like, all right, we got to cut that shit out. That's not going to work. It's not, we're not going to win like that. The more interesting thing for me personally would be their ground games canceled out and we see a scrap on the feet, because I actually think on the feet, while Askarov is more technically sound, I think that's a department where Royval's crazy shit will actually work in his favor, because it's hard to train for those crazy things on the feet, especially when you train to do crazy shit on the feet. So I think Brandon Royval could capitalize in that department if it ends up staying up top, but I don't see that happening. So I will be rooting heavily for my man Brandon Royval, but I do believe Askarov will be having a decision win by the end of it.
I could even see Askarov come in and look to purely strike, to say, like, I'm not even fucking with the Royval grappling. Because Askarov is a dangerous striker, and I wonder if he thinks he could just kind of outclass Royval if he keeps it there. There's a lot of avenues this fight could go.
I don't see. I totally believe that he believes that. I don't think that would happen, though. I think Royval is a lot more sound on the feet than people may be giving him credit for, especially because when you look at tape, he's doing a bunch of weird things, moving around, unorthodox for sure, spinning back fists and the like. But the reality is that kid is a flow fighter. And when he feels those moments, when he feels that stuff, he's reactionary. And again, those are the kind of fighters that are dangerous because you can't train for the flow. The flow is what it is in those moments. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different game than trying to train a very static kind of style. So I think Royval has a really good chance of coming away victorious. But if we go down to the ground, I just think Askarov will be a step ahead.
And I don't think Royval would ever let 15 minutes go by of just striking. I think he's too inclined to be scrambling and doing crazy shit, that if it was turning into a striking match, that he would be trying to drag it down in some fashion.
For those of you who may want to participate in a drinking game that night, you can absolutely add to the list of things how many guillotines Brandon Royval will try to attempt by the end of that fight. You take a shot every time. And I guarantee you, just in that one fight, you'll probably end up drunk as shit by the time it's all said and done. So,
Mike is going with Askar by round 3 TKO.
That's rude as fuck. That's
Royval is Mike's guy. That must have hurt for him to say.
Yeah, that's wild. The only man to put out Royval is my boy, Brandon Moreno. Right. And I just don't think Askarov is on the Brandon Moreno level. So I don't think he finishes him.
He literally proved he was on that level. He drew with him. They were at the same exact level.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, not the same level of finisher, I would not say.
All right. Next on the list, our boy Cub Swanson versus Jonathan Martinez. Cub Swanson should need no introduction, but we were going to give him one anyway. Cub Killer Swanson with a record of 28 wins, 12 losses. His last win was against the unbeatable Darren Elkins. The Damage, the Infinite Zombie, was actually finished by Cub Swanson via TKO round 1. Let me repeat that for you folks again. The man who can't be finished was finished in round 1 by Cub Swanson. So for those of you who thought, Cub is old, Cub Swanson, put some fucking respect on the man's name. Let's go. He will be fighting Jonathan Dragon Martinez. Martinez coming in with a record of 16 wins and 4 losses. His last fight was against Vince Morales, and he won a unanimous decision against him. This line, I mean, like, if it's not Cub Swanson plus like 250, it's
minus,
fucking.
You mean? You want to be?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Minus 250. It's rude. Anything less than 250 is fucking rude.
Well, it's really rude because he is the underdog. He's plus 160. Jonathan Martinez is minus 195.
This is garbage.
I am having a hard time with this fight. I've been going back and forth on this fight all day. I convinced myself I was going one way earlier, switch back again. I love Jonathan Martinez. I love seeing him get an opportunity like this. I've been a fan of his since he debuted back in 2018. He is just such an enjoyable watch. He's so smooth. He's so clean in everything he does. He dictates every exchange that's going to happen. He's so responsible defensively. He rips leg kicks and body kicks, rips them. But on the flip side of that, he's not overly aggressive. It's the one thing I've always said he's missing is a little bit more killer instinct. I think could take him to the next level. So I can't see him getting Cub out of there unless it's like a perfectly placed body shot or something along those lines. So he's going to have to deal with Cub all fight long. And Cub looked incredible in his last fight. The patience and calmness that he showed while just murdering Darren Elkins pretty much was off the charts. But where I get messed up here is that I don't love this bantamweight move for him. At least I don't think I do. I guess we'll see how I feel after Saturday night. I don't really get why. Like, okay, he wasn't going to be the featherweight champion anymore, but he's not going to be the bantamweight champion either. So what is the point of this? And, like, he was still a borderline ranked featherweight. I think he might have just fallen out of the rankings. I think I had him myself at, like, 15, 16, something like that. So it's not like he was, like, falling off horribly. So I don't know if I understand the move. I don't know if he was maybe just, like, naturally getting a little smaller as he's getting a little older, and he was like, hey, I think I'm a bantamweight now. I don't know. I didn't love that picture. I felt like his head looked so big in comparison to his body, the picture that we talked about back in the beginning of the show. If you're only watching a clip here and didn't hear that, it was a picture of Cub showing what the cut has looked like. Granted, him and Martinez are actually like the same exact size, so you could argue that Cub's body type fits in this division. But, I just... Like, when Cub was saying he might go down to bantamweight to fight Uriah Faber, it was one thing. Because I was like, all right, I get why he'd want to do that. Because that's a cool fucking fight. As much as I love Jonathan Martinez, it's Jonathan Martinez. So, I don't know. I would like to know what the reasoning is. It concerns me a little bit. But I do think I like Cub. I'm so torn. I hate that someone has to lose this fight. I could absolutely see the kicks of Martinez giving Cub trouble. I could see Cub looking a bit slow at bantamweight and us saying, like, he shouldn't have made this cut. But gun to my head, I believe in Cub's skills. I always have. I don't think there's been much of a fall off. He's just been fighting fucking killers, so he's picking up some losses naturally. If the cut goes okay, I'm going to say that his toughness, his poise, and specifically his boxing carry the day in a competitive fight. I think he obviously has to eat some kicks, but I'm going to say the boxing carries him. He lands some bigger shots, takes at least 2 of these rounds. Cub, Swanson, UD.
I think Cub's really got the edge, obviously, in experience here. And I think the one thing I love about Cub Swanson's game has always been his aggression. He's had measured aggression, I think, for a majority of his career. He's one of those guys that almost seems like he will play the game, right? He will strike with you. He will exchange with you. He will play that game. And boom, next thing you know, he's got some sort of a combination that he's firing out, that he's blitzing somebody with. And a lot of times it works for him. You know, if nothing else, it definitely gives him points, and it looks good in the judges to be backing people up, moving forward and keeping that distance. Martinez is a solid fighter. Martinez is, honestly, he's kind of a perfect matchup for Cub, stylistically anyway. I kind of hate having the young guys always thrown in with guys like this, like legends like this. But at the end of the day, Cub Swanson still wants to play the game, right? He still wants to climb the ladder. All these kids are all looking to do the same thing, so he's going to have to play with them as well. I think it's a really difficult fight on both sides. I don't know. Jonathan Martinez is younger than us. So I would imagine Jonathan Martinez grew up watching Cub Swanson kind of the way we did as well. So I don't know if he's going to have a little bit of shock when he goes in there. A lot of guys, when they get into some of these situations, they tend to be a lot more respectful inside of the cage than they really should be because of the person they're fighting against. Example of that would be like Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya. You know what I mean? But I do think Cub is going to come away victorious here. I think he's just a little bit better, a little bit more seasoned in the right way. I think that his combinations, I think his combinations as well as his ability to defend, because I think defending here is going to play a big part, especially if he's checking kicks. As many kicks as Jonathan Martinez likes to throw, I promise you, you eat one of those on Cub Swanson's knee or on a wrong part of his shin, you won't see Jonathan Martinez kicking shit in that fight. So I think Cub Swanson is smart enough to make these kind of adjustments. I would hope that he is, especially with all the experience that he has behind him. I'm going to go with Cub Swanson by decision. I think this will be a really good fight, but I don't see either one of them finishing each other.
We agree. Mike goes the other way. He is going Jonathan Martinez by, he doesn't choose, KO TKO in round 2. One or the other.
This is very upsetting. This is very upsetting, Mike. I hope you hear this. This is very upsetting. All right. And now we get to our headliner. The two women kicking everything off in the end. Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araujo. Alexa Grasso coming out of Mexico. I know you've heard us talk about her hands because her boxing is beautiful. Her last fight against Joanne Wood came at a win via submission, rear naked choke in round 1, which was a fantastic performance from her. And Viviane Araujo with a record of 11-3, coming off of a win decision against Andrea Lee. I would imagine Grasso would be the favorite here, but apparently, fuck me, so who knows?
You would be right this time.
Okay,
Grasso is minus 205. Viviane Araujo is plus 170. This is, while not the biggest main event on planet Earth, it is a big fight in this division. The winner, especially if it's Grasso, is going to be probably maybe one fight away from a title shot, if not even a title shot, depending on how things shake out around them. I like the matchup. I think it's intriguing. It's almost like technique versus physical force. I think it'll be kind of the higher level of skills possessed by Grasso versus the physicality and strength and relentlessness of Viviane Araujo. And honestly, that edge that Araujo has may be enough to swing it, despite her not being technically on the same level as Grasso when you really break it down. Because she leans on that physicality, and she makes it work for her. She showed it against Andrea Lee. She got absolutely outclassed and lit up in round 1. And she was like, all right, I'm still here, though, and I'm just going to keep moving forward and drag you down. And she won the next 2 rounds of that fight and just was completely relentless. Can she do that to Grasso? I don't know. Grasso is deceptively strong. Her grappling does look like it's improving. She just won her last fight by submission for what that's worth. But she's going to have to deal with Araujo walking forward for 25 minutes, and she's going to have to lean on that striking. She obviously will have the advantage on the feet. Grasso will. But it's just a matter of her landing enough and landing hard enough to keep Araujo off of her. So I think it's that, and I think it's Grasso's defensive wrestling that end up determining this fight. If it's good enough, she's going to win, and maybe she's going to look really good. If she's stuffing a lot of takedowns, she's probably going to win this fight very clearly. if she's not stuffing many, this could get ugly, and Araujo could steal it. And this is another one where I'm kind of surprising myself. Like, on paper, when I saw this fight get made, I was like, oh, all right, Grasso probably wins, goes on to the next thing. My guess is, I haven't really looked, been a busy week. My guess is most of the world, internet-wise, Twitter, whatever, is on Grasso here. I think I'm going to go the contrarian route. I have never been totally sold on Grasso. If she's fighting a striker, I am. But when she's fighting someone that can grapple, I still am a bit concerned. And I think I'm going to say Araujo manages to make this thing ugly enough, drag it down enough times, control her enough, and wins it 48-47.
Yeah, I think this fight has been very close even from its inception. You know, even when you look at the numbers, right? Number 5, number 6. I mean, these girls are right there. Both of them have put on great performances against all the people that they fought. The problem I have with Araujo is a little bit of her resume as compared to Alexa Grasso. Just a smidge, right? Even in the losses that
It's fair.
Grasso has had, I hold some of those losses in higher regard than the losses that Araujo has had. And the wins that Araujo has had, I hold less so than the wins that Grasso has had. Again, I also really like Grasso's striking. I think Grasso's striking is very clean. Araujo, if we're going to compare one to the other, Grasso almost seems like a proper boxer, whereas Araujo seems more like a brawler. Yes. Somebody who's coming out to sort of Vanderlei their way to victory. Grasso is definitely the more, I would imagine, technical striker of the two. When it comes to the ground game, I think Grasso is still very green down there, but I think she's effective, right? I think she's decently effective on the ground. I think where it becomes a problem is, can she get back up? I don't think Araujo is going to be able to submit her. I don't think Araujo is going to be able to sun her on the ground. But at the same time, I don't think Grasso is going to be able to get up consistently if continuously taken down. I give her more chance to keep it standing up than I do to get back up if she's already on the ground. Her takedown defense, I think, is actually significantly better than people think that it is. I believe, what do they have right? I think I just saw this shit. Hang on a second. I don't know where it is, but I think I just saw that her takedown accuracy, if I'm not mistaken, was like 60%, and then her takedown defense was somewhere in that realm as well, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that, because now that's just going to sound crazy if that's not the case. So yeah, her takedown accuracy is 57%, and her takedown defense is 60%. Granted, Araujo's takedown defense is 90%, but Araujo hasn't faced the same type of fighters that Grasso has faced. For 60% to have fought people like Tatiana Suarez and Carla Esparza, 60% is a motherfucking pass as far as I'm concerned, especially against Carla Esparza, because if Carla Esparza didn't shoot at least 10 takedowns in that fight, it wasn't a Carla Esparza fight. So good on her for having what she had against those, women like that. Obviously, she lost both of those fights, but I would imagine those fights have got to fuel you to get to that part of, get that part of your game tighter. And if nothing else, you got to give her credit for showing that she's growing. She's got a submission win under her belt. Granted, Wood is kind of at the tail end of what we would imagine is the tail end of her career. Things aren't going as what they used to have been back in her Invicta days and her early UFC days. But either way, Grasso has shown her improvement, no doubt. As long-winded as all that was, I'm going to go with Alexa Grasso, and I'm going to go with a decision win. I think she's able to squeak 2 wins out. I think she comes away with the first. Almost positive she comes away with the first. But I think, I think those adjustments, like you said, Araujo is going to try to make adjustments in the second round. And I think if Grasso is at least able to take the second round, not getting taken down, striking and countering, I think she'll end up with the second round as well. And subsequently, hopefully, at least one more after that and winning the decision.
Mike is in agreement. He's got Grasso by decision as well.
Nice.
All right, so we're different on the main event. I like it. What were we? Let's see. We We both took Cub. We both took Askarov. Did we both take Jordan Wright? No, you took Dusko.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had some differences scattered throughout here. You took a Sun Sow. Yeah, we'll see next week.
Should be good.